Hello, everyone. Scott and Jennifer. And today we're going to talk about how to create an engaging opening to your presentation. I have found that when you are able to start your presentation with an intentional opening, a powerful opening, it immediately boosts your confidence throughout the entire presentation. Yeah. Scott, I'd love to hear what you think about the power of the opening.
Well, it's funny because one thing I want to share is that sometimes I see really masterful speakers do sort of an opening to their opening. So I kind of wanted to talk about that. But before I do, how does somebody prepare to give that powerful, intentional opening?
I have a couple of steps for the opening that I ask my clients to focus on. And the first question to ask yourself with your opening is, does it benefit you and who you are as the presenter? Basically, are you just talking about yourself and giving a resume dump? Or does your opening, is it designed for your audience? Is it telling your audience what they're going to gain from the presentation, what they're going to walk away with? So I feel that's really important. It's not making it about yourself. It's making it all about your audience.
And you know what? I fully agree. The interesting thing is people will go, well, how do you build credibility? Isn't your resume about, I'm a credible expert, so you should listen to me? I mean, how does this opening that focuses on the audience, or where does that lie in terms of credibility? Shouldn't we talk about ourselves a little bit?
Yeah, it's important to have credibility with your audience. There's just a way that you can do it so it's not coming across as only talking about yourself. Yeah. So one of my favorite techniques when I'm opening up a presentation is I immediately make it about the audience, and I let them know what they're going to gain during our time together. I want them to know the value that they're going to receive, and then I will introduce myself. I do not introduce myself first.
Yeah.
I'll then share a little bit about my background, and then I get right into the details.
Well, and how many times is your background information already provided?
Oh, I mean, sure.
At a conference, there's usually a website and there's stuff all about you. If people want to know about what your background is, they can find it. And in fact, many of them already have at least scanned through that because that's what brought them to your talk often.
Yes.
So yeah, I agree with you. It's being sort of ego-based has you talking about you. You're worried about, am I credible? And when you focus on your audience, if they think that you see them, that all of your intention is about delivering value to them from the very start, I think that's credibility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're automatically building the credibility with your audience by making it about them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about, like I said earlier, about a guy named Sir Ken Robinson, who recently passed away. Now, Sir Ken is this globally renowned and recognized expert in creativity and education. And he has one of the most watched TED Talks of all time. And when he passed away, it caused a lot of us in the presentation world to mourn his passing, because he's had a number of talks on TED, but his first talk was about how schools can kill creativity. And I recently watched it, and the beginning was interesting because I often find these masterful speakers have a beginning to the beginning, sort of well, he walked out onto stage for this talk, and he has sort of a limp. So he comes out slowly, and as he's walking out onto this TED stage, he says, "How are you?" And he reflects with the audience, just kind of communally, "Isn't this great? Hasn't this TED thing been awesome?" And then he goes on to share some thoughts about what he's been learning over the last 2 or 3 days of his experience being a listener at TED before he actually launches more formally into his opening. There's something that's got to be good here. This is one of the most watched TED Talks, and people don't click away despite the fact that he doesn't have some grand opening.
Yeah.
But I think what I see in his opening is very similar to what you said. And that is, when he walked out, it was about him. It was about the audience and his connection to the audience.
Well, yes, and he's instantly telling them that he is relatable and approachable and likable through that introduction.
Yeah.
Let me ask Scott, does he have a smile on his face when he's opening up? Do you remember?
You know, I don't know if it's a smile. There's a warm glow to his expression. I mean, he means it when he says, he really means it. How are you? I think great speakers want to know where their audience is in the moment that they're there. This is the opposite of that ego-based thing that happens where people start talking about themselves first. Well, let me tell you about, I've been in this industry for 20 years. Let me tell you about how great my company is. Let me put all these logos on the slide to show you how many, all that stuff aside, the spirit behind his opening is, I'm here to connect with and deliver value to you. And so his greeting, I don't know if there was a smile per se, but it's sort of a true curiosity. When he asks, how are you doing? I know he doesn't expect people to respond verbally, but he does expect people to respond with their body and their face. And I think he absorbs that a little bit before he asks the next question, which, isn't this great?
I bet there was a smile there. I asked about the smiling because I notice with presenters when they start their presentation, and I love the word that you said, there's this warm sense about the person, or they're smiling. They come across as friendly. And also when we smile, when we're opening up a presentation, it tells the audience, I actually want to be here. I really want to present in front of you. Yeah. And so to me, practicing the facial expressions, practice in a mirror, practice on video, what message is your face giving when you open up your presentation? Very powerful.
And I would say that expression is more likely to come across when your internal setting is what we've discussed, which is you are listener-based.
Yes.
It's so much easier to smile when you're thinking about them.
The audience comes first.
Right. Absolutely.
Always.
So how do we wrap this up for our audience today? What's for you, what's the essential takeaway?
Well, I do have a tip on how to really master an opening. Mm-hmm. And this is a tip that I have been using for years. I will take an index card, Scott, and I will write out what I want my opening to be. And then I'll just repeat it everywhere I go. I'm saying this opening, and then I get to know it well enough. I can just bullet it out. And I take that index card with bullets everywhere I go, whether I'm walking my dog or at a stoplight, I will read those bullets out loud. So for me, it's the practicing of the opening, because especially for folks who get nervous before a presentation, you nail your opening, it's really going to give a solid first impression, and it's going to boost your confidence.
Yeah, right. Well, I guess what I would like to leave our listeners with is think about the opening to the opening. In some cases, not in all, it's okay to go out and to make connections and reflect on where the audience is in the moment. You may have prepared that opening that you're talking about a day or a week earlier, but these human beings, they change all the time. And if it's late in the day, they may be tired. If it's early in the morning, they may be wide awake. If it's right before lunch, they may be hungry. To understand that humanity to them and to show them that you see them, I think is a really, really critical thing to do. So there we go. This is our opening episode about presentation openings. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you tune in to our upcoming episodes.
Thanks, everybody.